Imagine a person in your life who drains your energy, who twists your words, who makes you doubt yourself every single time you interact with them. Now, what if I told you that there is one single action you can take that will make that person stop bothering you forever? No arguments, no drawn-out confrontations, no endless drama, just one decisive move, and the toxicity that's been leaching into your life suddenly loses all power over you. Most people don't do this. They hesitate. They give explanations. They wait for the right moment that never comes. And meanwhile, the same people keep showing up, testing your patience, testing your boundaries, and chipping away at your confidence. But what if you could change that today? What if you could make it so that they never darken your life again? Not because they've changed, but because you finally took control. By the end of this message, you're going to learn how to do exactly that. You're going to discover the one action that flips the script entirely, and the reason most people never do it is because it requires something they've been avoiding their whole lives: absolute self-respect. And once you embrace it, once you execute it, toxic people simply cannot touch you. This isn't theory. This isn't try this and maybe it works. This is decisive, real-world action, and it changes everything. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to walk you through how to see toxic people clearly, set boundaries that cannot be broken, and take that one defining step that guarantees they stop interfering with your life forever. And when you understand this, when you finally act, you'll realize something profound. Peace isn't given, it's claimed. And today, you're about to claim it. You cannot protect yourself from something you refuse to see. You cannot take control over something you deny exists. And yet, so many people wander through life, letting toxic individuals shape their days, their moods, and even their sense of self-worth, without ever putting a name to it. This is where everything begins. The first step toward freedom, toward reclaiming your peace, is recognizing toxicity for what it truly is. Toxic people are not always obvious. They don't always scream or insult you outright. Often, they are subtle. They wrap manipulation in smiles, they hide criticism in the guise of concern, and they disguise control as helpfulness. They are the ones who consistently drain your energy without seeming to do anything wrong. You leave an encounter feeling smaller, more anxious, or second-guessing your own instincts. That is the hallmark of toxicity. It wears you down quietly, persistently, and invisibly until you can't even remember what it felt like to feel good around someone. The first thing to understand is this: toxicity is a pattern, not a moment. It's not a single bad day or a temporary lapse in judgment. It's a series of repeated behaviors designed, consciously or unconsciously, to dominate, control, or diminish your spirit. It can come from a friend, a family member, a coworker, or even a mentor you once trusted. And no matter where it comes from, the effect is the same. It eats at your confidence, it distorts your sense of reality, and it slowly convinces you that your peace is negotiable. So how do you recognize it? Start by paying attention to how you feel after interactions. Do you leave conversations with a sense of exhaustion or guilt that doesn't belong to you? Do you find yourself constantly apologizing or walking on eggshells even when you haven't done anything wrong? These feelings are warning lights. They are your mind and body's way of saying, something here is not safe for me. Next, listen to the patterns of their words and actions. Toxic people often operate in predictable ways. They manipulate situations to their advantage, twist your words, or create drama where none should exist. They may belittle your achievements, dismiss your emotions, or undermine your confidence under the guise of helping or being honest. And here's the dangerous part. Because it's cloaked in justification or charm, many people ignore it, excuse it, or blame themselves for how it makes them feel. Don't make that mistake. Your discomfort is not a flaw, it's a signal. Naming toxicity is a radical act of self-respect. When you identify someone as toxic, you remove the fog of doubt that keeps you trapped. You stop rationalizing their behavior. You stop pretending that their drama is normal or acceptable. Naming it allows you to see clearly. This person is not your friend, not your ally, not someone who contributes to your growth. They are a drain, and if you allow them to remain, they will continue to chip away at best parts of you. And make no mistake, recognizing toxicity is not about being judgmental. It's not about labeling someone as bad for the sake of punishment. It's about survival. It's about understanding that your mental, emotional, and even physical energy are sacred resources. If someone consistently leaves you depleted, anxious, or doubting yourself, it is not weakness on your part. It is their choice to behave in a way that does not honor you. Recognizing that is the first step toward reclaiming your life. Think about the signs carefully. Do they constantly demand your time and attention without reciprocation? Do they guilt you into things that do not align with your values? Do they bring out insecurities that were never a problem until they pointed them out? Do they undermine your relationships with others, isolate you, or make you question your reality? If you answered yes to any of these, you're dealing with toxicity, plain and simple. What most people fail to understand is that toxicity is not just annoying, it's contagious. Spending time with someone toxic can distort your own behavior. You start doubting yourself, questioning your instincts, and lowering your standards to accommodate their constant disruptions. You may even start adopting some of their negative habits unconsciously. That's why recognizing toxicity is urgent. The sooner you see it, the sooner you protect yourself from being dragged down into their storm. Now, here's a truth most people resist. Some toxic people will never change. No amount of conversation, confrontation, or explanation will turn them into someone who respects boundaries or treats you with decency. They may apologize temporarily, promise to do better, or show short-lived behavior shifts, but unless they are willing to take a hard look at themselves, the pattern will repeat. And this is why recognition is so crucial. When you name it, you stop waiting for someone else to change and start taking ownership of your own life. Naming toxicity is also liberating. When you admit to yourself, this is not healthy for me. This is not someone I should allow into my space. You reclaim clarity. You reclaim authority over your time, your emotions, and your energy. You gain the power to set boundaries, to distance yourself, and to take that decisive action that finally breaks the cycle. And that is the moment where transformation begins. Once you see clearly, once you name it, the next steps, the action that ends their hold over you, become inevitable. So pay attention, observe, feel the warning signs, track the patterns, stop making excuses for the behavior that diminishes you. And when you can name toxicity for what it truly is, you will no longer be confused, trapped, or manipulated. You will be ready to act, and once you act, their power over you ends. It's not revenge, it's self-respect. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. And the freedom that follows is worth every ounce of discomfort it takes to face the truth. Once you recognize toxicity for what it is, the next step is non-negotiable, setting boundaries. This is the point where most people falter. They understand someone is toxic, they even admit it to themselves, but they hesitate to act. They hope the situation will improve, they fear confrontation, or they worry about being labeled mean or difficult. Let me make something very clear. Boundaries are not negotiable. They are not optional. They are not a courtesy you extend to someone else. They are a protection for yourself. Boundaries are your line in the sand. They are a declaration that your peace, your time, and your energy are sacred, and you will not allow anyone to trample over them. They are not threats. They are statements of self-respect. A toxic person may test them, push against them, or even ridicule them. That is normal. That is expected. But the moment you allow them to cross that line even once, you have communicated that your boundaries are flexible, and in the mind of a toxic individual, flexible is an invitation to continue. Setting a boundary begins with clarity. You must know what is acceptable to you and what is not. This requires brutal honesty with yourself. Ask yourself, what behaviors am I no longer willing to tolerate? What conversations, what demands, what manipulations leave me feeling drained or diminished? Write them down. Be specific. The moment you generalize or make exceptions in your mind, you are giving them a foothold. Boundaries must be concrete, visible in your actions, and reinforced consistently. Once you are clear, the next step is communication. You cannot expect someone to respect a boundary they do not understand. But here is the critical point. Do not over-explain. Do not beg for understanding, and do not justify. Toxic individuals thrive on explanations. They dissect your words, twist your intentions, and find loopholes to keep the power they crave. State your boundary firmly, calmly, and without apology. For example, I will not engage in conversations where I am insulted or belittled. If it happens, I will leave. Short, clear, unwavering. Your words should carry authority without aggression, because this is not about confrontation, it is about defining the space in which you operate. Boundaries are reinforced by action. It is not enough to say no or I will not tolerate this if your behavior does not align with your words. A toxic person will push, test, and manipulate, and the only way to teach them that you are serious is through consistent enforcement. If you leave the room when they cross a line, follow through. If you remove yourself from their emails, messages, or calls, follow through. If you limit interaction to only what is necessary, follow through. Every boundary you fail to enforce is a signal that they can continue. Every boundary you enforce without hesitation teaches them that your limits are absolute. Boundaries are also proactive, not reactive. Do not wait until the next attack, the next insult, the next emotional ambush to act. Anticipate their behavior. Decide in advance what you will accept and what you will not. Make your rules known internally first, then externally. This way, you act with confidence rather than reacting from fear or anger. Toxic individuals are skilled at baiting emotional responses. When you act from preset boundaries, you remove the drama from the equation. You take back control. You own your space. It is important to remember that boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling yourself. You cannot change a toxic person. You cannot make them respect your rules. You can only control how you respond, how much access you allow, and how much influence they have over your life. This is a powerful shift in perspective. Once you understand that, the fear of confrontation diminishes, because you realize that enforcing your boundary is an act of self-preservation, not a punishment. Another critical aspect is emotional preparation. Setting boundaries with toxic people is not comfortable. They will push back. They will guilt, manipulate, or lash out. This is not a failure on your part, it is their predictable behavior. Steel yourself mentally for resistance, and remember, their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is your peace, your energy, and your clarity. This is why boundaries must be unwavering. Hesitation will be exploited. Consistency creates respect, even from the most difficult individuals. Boundaries extend to every area of life: emotional, physical, digital, and temporal. Decide how much time you are willing to spend with them, how much personal information you will share, and the types of interactions you will allow. In today's world, boundaries also mean social media. Do not feel obligated to respond to every message, read every text, or justify your absence. Protect your mental space fiercely. Remember, every moment you allow a toxic person to invade your life is a moment stolen from your growth, your happiness, and your future. Finally, understand the ripple effect of boundaries. When you set them and enforce them, you are not only protecting yourself, you are teaching everyone around you how to treat you. Healthy relationships flourish because everyone involved knows the rules. Toxic people are excluded because they cannot play by those rules. Your life becomes less about managing chaos and more about cultivating strength, focus, and positive energy. Setting boundaries is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice. You will stumble. You will feel guilt. You will face pushback. But each time you reinforce your limits, you grow stronger. Each time you say no without apology, you claim a piece of your peace back. And eventually, the toxic individuals in your life will stop testing you because they learn one truth that cannot be argued with. You will not bend. You will not negotiate. And you will not tolerate what diminishes you. When boundaries are set and enforced, freedom follows. You no longer live in reaction to their moods or manipulations. You create a space in your life that is yours alone. A space where you dictate the rules, you decide who is welcome, and you protect what is valuable: your energy, your clarity, and your self-respect. Boundaries are not cruel. They are necessary. They are the armor that ensures that toxic people no longer have a say in your life. You've recognized the toxicity and you've set your boundaries. You know what behavior you will no longer tolerate, and you've begun to assert yourself. But now comes the MOS. Critical moment, the one decisive action that changes everything. This is the move that takes all the preparation, all the clarity, all the courage you've been building, and transforms it into permanent power over your life. Here's the truth most people refuse to face. Toxic individuals will never stop bothering you on their own. They will never apologize sincerely without incentive. They will never recognize your value or the pain they've caused unless you make it impossible for them to ignore the rules you've set. This is not about revenge. It is not about cruelty. It is about one simple principle: you refuse to allow anyone to control your life any longer. And the way to enforce that principle is decisive, irreversible action. The action itself is simple to describe but not easy to execute. You remove their access to you. You make it so that they cannot manipulate, guilt, or exhaust you anymore. That may mean a clean break, a permanent distance, or an unwavering refusal to engage in the drama they create. The key is that it is done once, firmly and completely, leaving no ambiguity, no excuses, no second chances for manipulation. Most people fail at this step because they hesitate. They want closure, explanation, or justification. They feel guilty for cutting someone off, or fear the social backlash. Toxic people exploit these hesitations. They drag you back into the chaos over and over, knowing that your uncertainty is a tool they can wield against you. The moment you act decisively, all of that changes. The power dynamic flips entirely. You are no longer reacting. You are dictating the terms of engagement. You are no longer vulnerable. You are untouchable. Think about what happens when you take this action. You communicate a truth that cannot be ignored. Your peace is not up for negotiation. When you walk away from a toxic person without argument, without drama, without begging them to understand, you demonstrate a clarity that is disarming. Toxic individuals are often reliant on confusion. They thrive on uncertainty, on the blurred lines where they can manipulate. A clean, firm action removes all ambiguity. There is no more room for their games. You have made the rules, and they have no choice but to respect them or exit your life entirely. And here is something most people overlook. This action is more about your mindset than theirs. You do not need them to acknowledge their behavior or admit wrongdoing. You do not need them to grovel, apologize, or even understand. The purpose of this one decisive move is not to change them, it is to change your reality. By taking this step, you reclaim control over your emotional, mental, and physical space. You no longer allow external chaos to dictate your inner peace. That is empowerment in its purest form. This is why the action must be executed once and with total commitment. Half measures will not work. Leaving the door open, giving explanations, or sending mixed messages gives them an opening to continue their pattern. Once you commit to this action fully, they are forced to respect your boundaries or disappear. And once they disappear, something remarkable happens. You start to feel a freedom you may not have realized was possible. The anxiety fades. The constant second-guessing vanishes. You reclaim the energy that was being siphoned away. You feel lighter, stronger, and more in control than you have in years. This step also teaches a critical lesson. You cannot negotiate with chaos, and you cannot reason with people who profit from confusion and control. Toxic individuals are experts at finding cracks in your armor, exploiting moments of doubt, and wearing down your resolve. The one action that changes everything closes that gap completely. There is no compromise. There is no room for manipulation. It is a declaration of authority over your life that requires no justification, no negotiation, no apology. And yes, taking this action is difficult. It requires courage, discipline, and self-respect at a level most people avoid. Fear of confrontation, fear of judgment, or fear of being alone can tempt you to delay. But delay is weakness. Delay is what allows toxic people to continue shaping your life. The moment you act decisively, you break the cycle forever. You send a signal to yourself and to the world that you will no longer allow interference from anyone who diminishes. Consider the ripple effects of this one action. Once you take it, you begin to notice the difference in every part of your life. Your focus sharpens, your confidence grows, your time is no longer hijacked by unnecessary conflict. Relationships that are healthy and supportive begin to flourish because you now have the space, energy, and clarity to invest in them fully. You begin to operate from a position of strength rather than reaction, and the people who respect and value you recognize it immediately. And here's a crucial point. This is not a one-time lesson that you forget after execution. The act of decisively removing toxic influence becomes a cornerstone of your personal power. It teaches you how to recognize manipulation earlier, how to enforce boundaries without hesitation, and how to trust your instincts. Each time you encounter difficulty or drama in the future, you carry the memory of this action as proof that you have the strength and clarity to handle it. You are no longer at the mercy of someone else's toxicity. You are the master of your own life. Finally, understand this. This action is liberating, not isolating. You do not take it lightly, but once it is done, you experience a sense of freedom that is profound. Toxic people may complain, may try to pull you back, or may even spread lies, but you are untouchable because your inner authority is unshakable. You have acted from strength, not reaction. You have prioritized your peace over someone else's need to control you, and in doing so, you create a life that is no longer defined by chaos but by clarity, confidence, and unwavering self-respect. This is the one move that ends the cycle. This is the action that changes everything. You prepare, you plan, you commit, and you execute. You do it once, decisively, and with conviction. And from that moment forward, toxic people no longer have a say in your life. You have reclaimed your power, your energy, and your peace. You have done what most people will never do. And in doing so, you step into a version of yourself that is unstoppable, untouchable, and unbreakable. Once you have recognized toxicity, set boundaries, and taken decisive action, the next battlefield is internal. Because here's a truth most people ignore: removing toxic people from your life physically is only half the battle. If your mind, emotions, and habits remain vulnerable, toxicity can creep back in through doubt, fear, or insecurity. True freedom comes not just from external action, it comes from building immunity within yourself, creating a mental and emotional fortress that no one can penetrate. Internal strength is not something that magically appears. It is cultivated deliberately, consistently, and with intention. It is built the moment you choose self-respect over approval, action over hesitation, and clarity over confusion. It begins with understanding that your worth is inherent, not negotiable, and that no one's negative energy can alter that unless you allow it to. This is the core of immunity, a steadfast belief in yourself that is stronger than fear, guilt, or manipulation. One of the first pillars of internal strength is self-awareness. You must know your triggers, your vulnerabilities, and the places where toxic influence has been most effective in the past. Toxic individuals are skilled at identifying cracks in your confidence, exploiting insecurities, and pushing buttons that create chaos. By knowing yourself deeply, by mapping out the emotional and mental patterns that once gave them power over you, you begin to reclaim control. You recognize in advance when a situation could drain you, and you prepare strategies to defend yourself. This preparation is not paranoia, it is empowerment. Another critical component of internal immunity is self-confidence. Toxic people feed on doubt, they manipulate, belittle, and gaslight because they know that uncertainty is a weapon. When you develop a solid sense of self-confidence, you rob them of that weapon. Confidence is not arrogance. It is a quiet, unshakable assurance in your value and your decisions. It is the inner voice that says, "I know my worth, and no one can take it away." Confidence allows you to enforce your boundaries without hesitation, respond to manipulation without fear, and act decisively without guilt. Emotional regulation is equally vital. Toxic individuals thrive on emotional reactions. They use anger, fear, or guilt as fuel for their control. Internal strength means you respond from calm authority rather than reactionary emotion. This does not mean suppressing feelings, it means managing them. It means observing the situation, understanding the stakes, and acting from a place of power rather than vulnerability. Practices like mindfulness, reflection, journaling, or even physical exercise can help you develop this level of control. The more you strengthen your emotional discipline, the less influence others have over your state of mind. Mental resilience is another layer of immunity. Life will always throw challenges at you, and toxic people are often just one of many obstacles. Internal strength allows you to face difficulties without letting them derail you. Resilience is cultivated by confronting discomfort, embracing challenges, and refusing to let setbacks define you. Every time you survive confrontation with a toxic individual, every time you maintain your boundaries in the face of manipulation, you strengthen your mental muscle, and each time your mental resilience grows, you become less dependent on external validation or approval, which is precisely what toxic people exploit. Part of building immunity is also the practice of intentional thought. Toxic individuals often leave seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity in your mind. Internal strength requires vigilance over your thoughts. You must recognize the lies that toxic people try to plant and counter them with truth. Affirmations, reflection, and intentional focus on your values, accomplishments, and priorities are powerful tools for rewiring your mental landscape. The more you practice disciplined thinking, the more impervious you become to manipulation. Another crucial aspect is the cultivation of self-reliance. Toxic people often manipulate by making you dependent on their approval, advice, or presence. Immunity is built when you rely on your own judgment, when you trust your own instincts, and when you create a support system that is positive, nurturing, and empowering. Self-reliance does not mean isolation. It means you are no longer tethered to the whims of someone who seeks to control you. You make decisions based on your principles, not on the fear of their reaction. Internal strength also thrives on consistency. It is not a one-time act of bravery or a fleeting moment of courage. It is a daily commitment to honor your boundaries, protect your energy, and uphold your standards. Each time you reinforce your rules, each time you choose peace over conflict, each time you respond with calm authority rather than emotional reaction, you are fortifying your immunity. Over time, this consistency builds an unshakable inner fortress that toxic people cannot breach. Finally, internal strength is amplified by perspective. You must recognize that the presence of toxic individuals is not a reflection of your inadequacy. It is a reflection of their limitations. They are struggling with their own insecurities, fears, and inability to respect others. Understanding this allows you to detach emotionally from their attacks and reduces the temptation to internalize their behavior. Perspective provides clarity, and clarity empowers action. When you combine awareness, confidence, emotional regulation, mental resilience, self-reliance, and perspective, you create a mindset that is impervious to toxicity. This is the ultimate form of power, the ability to remain untouched by negative influence. Once internal strength is established, boundaries are not just enforced, they are unbreakable. Decisive actions are not intimidating, they are inevitable. Toxic individuals lose relevance because their attempts to manipulate or control are no longer effective. They may still exist in your world, but they cannot control your mind, your energy, or your life. You have built immunity, and nothing can penetrate it. Internal strength is not glamorous. It does not require confrontation or dramatic gestures. It is cultivated quietly, deliberately, and consistently. And yet, it is the most important weapon you possess against toxicity. Without it, boundaries can falter, actions can waver, and freedom becomes temporary. With it, you are unstoppable. You are untouchable. You are finally in control of the life, energy, and peace that toxic individuals once tried to steal from you. Once you have recognized toxicity, set boundaries, taken decisive action, and fortified your inner strength, you arrive at the ultimate destination, liberation, and long-term peace. This is the stage where freedom is no longer an abstract concept. It becomes your reality. Toxic people, the chaos they bring, and the doubts they instill no longer have a hold over you. You have claimed your life, and you have claimed it fully. Liberation begins with clarity. When you understand that toxicity is not your fault, that boundaries are not negotiable, and that your energy is sacred, a profound sense of relief washes over you. You no longer carry the weight of guilt, the burden of unnecessary explanations, or the anxiety of being manipulated. Each moment you previously spent worrying about what someone else thinks or how they might react is now reclaimed. This clarity is empowering because it reminds you that your life belongs to you, not to anyone else. Freedom, however, is not just about the absence of toxic people. It is about the presence of choice. For the first time, you are free to invest your time, energy, and attention into people and pursuits that elevate you rather than diminish you. You choose who deserves your trust, who deserves your time, and who contributes positively to your growth. Every decision is intentional, every interaction deliberate, and every relationship aligned with your values. Liberation means that you no longer operate on autopilot in someone else's drama. You operate consciously in your own life. Long-term peace is born from consistency. It is not enough to act once or set a boundary temporarily. Real peace is cultivated through ongoing commitment to yourself. You maintain the standards you set. You honor your boundaries with unwavering consistency. You refuse to re-engage with individuals who have proven toxic, no matter the temptation, guilt, or pressure. Peace is not fragile. It is built brick by brick through persistent, deliberate action. Each day you uphold your rules. Each moment you choose self-respect over fear. Reinforces the foundation of lasting serenity. One of the most profound aspects of liberation is the freedom from emotional hostage-taking. Toxic people thrive on manipulation, on guilt, on fear. Once you remove them from your life and fortify your internal strength, you are no longer subject to these tactics. You are no longer controlled by someone else's moods, opinions, or expectations. Emotional freedom allows you to think clearly, act decisively, and pursue your goals without distraction. It is a power that cannot be stolen, borrowed, or diminished by anyone. Once you experience this, you understand that peace is not something given, it is something earned and claimed. Another critical dimension of long-term peace is self-respect. When you consistently protect your energy, enforce your boundaries, and take decisive action against toxicity, you send a powerful message to yourself: you matter. This is more than a feeling, it is a fact rooted in action. Self-respect becomes your shield against future attempts at manipulation, your guide in choosing relationships, and your compass in making life decisions. The more you honor yourself, the less likely you are to tolerate anyone who diminishes your worth. Self-respect transforms from a concept into a lived experience, and it is the bedrock of enduring peace. Liberation also allows you to reclaim your time, the most precious resource you have. Toxic people often hijack your days, your thoughts, and your energy. They keep you in cycles of drama, distraction, and self-doubt. When you remove them and fortify your internal immunity, suddenly, time is yours again. You can invest it in growth, in purpose, in relationships that matter. You can dedicate your energy to goals that fulfill you. Time becomes an ally instead of a battlefield, and the freedom it brings is unparalleled. With liberation comes clarity in relationships. You begin to see people as they truly are, rather than through the distorted lens of manipulation or drama. Healthy relationships become easier to recognize and nurture. You attract those who are aligned with your values, who respect your boundaries, and who support your growth. Conversely, you naturally distance yourself from those who would drain, control, or diminish you. This discernment is a form of wisdom born from experience, a gift of long-term peace that ensures your future interactions are healthier, more balanced, and more fulfilling. Long-term peace is also about resilience. You understand that challenges will always arise, and not everyone in life will act with integrity or kindness. But having removed toxic influence and fortified your inner strength, you now face these challenges from a position of power rather than fear. You are no longer at the mercy of chaos. You are equipped with mental clarity, emotional control, and unwavering self-respect, which together create a sense of invulnerability to unnecessary interference. Peace is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of strength to handle them with confidence and composure. Ultimately, liberation and long-term peace empower you to live intentionally. You no longer drift through life reacting to others, you live proactively, making decisions that align with your values, purpose, and highest self. Each day becomes an opportunity to grow, to create, and to thrive, without the constant weight of toxicity hanging over you. This is not an abstract promise, it is a tangible result of the recognition, boundaries, decisive action, and internal strength you have cultivated. And the most remarkable thing is this: once you have achieved liberation, you inspire it in others. When you operate from peace, strength, and clarity, you model a standard for relationships and interactions. You teach, without words, that respect is non-negotiable, that self-worth is paramount, and that peace is a choice worth fighting for. Others may try to test it, but your consistency becomes a blueprint for how life should be lived with courage, integrity, and intentionality. Long-term peace is not passive. It is active, deliberate, and ongoing. It is the reward for action taken decisively, for boundaries enforced, and for internal strength cultivated. It is freedom from drama, freedom from manipulation, and freedom from doubt. It is a life where energy is protected, choices are intentional, and self-respect reigns supreme. And once you experience it fully, you realize something profound. No one, no circumstance, and no toxic presence can ever take it from you again. This is the ultimate destination. Liberation earned, peace secured, and a life fully reclaimed. It is the result of courage, clarity, and action. And once you embrace it, you move forward untouchable, unstoppable, and entirely in control of your own destiny. You have now walked the full path, from recognizing toxicity to setting unbreakable boundaries to taking the one decisive action that changes everything and building the internal strength that makes you untouchable. You have seen clearly, acted decisively, and fortified yourself in ways most people never will. And now, the final truth you must carry with you is this: your life is yours to protect, your energy is yours to defend, and your peace is non-negotiable. Toxic people may exist, but they have no power over you unless you give it to them. The moment you act with clarity, confidence, and unwavering self-respect, you remove them from your life, not with argument, not with revenge, but with authority. You claim your space, your time, and your energy, and you refuse to allow anyone to diminish you ever again. Remember this: freedom is not given, peace is not granted, respect is not borrowed. They are claimed through recognition, through boundaries, through decisive action, and through the relentless cultivation of inner strength. You have the power to enforce them in every aspect of your life. You have the authority to create a world where toxic people cannot touch your spirit. So do not wait. Do not hesitate. Do not entertain excuses or fear. Stand firm. Act decisively. Protect yourself fiercely, and know this: once you do, you will never look back. Once you claim your life fully, the drama, the manipulation, and the chaos that once held you hostage will fade into nothingness. What remains is your freedom, your clarity, and your unstoppable power. You are not defined by the toxicity around you. You are defined by the courage to rise above it. You are defined by the strength to act once and for all. And you are defined by the life you choose to build, a life of peace, respect, and unstoppable purpose. Claim it, own it, live it.